Greetings to all who have been following my now 37 videos, and a warm welcome to newcomers. Excuse me. It's Tom Kissack, author of Jonathan's Tales, Volume 1 available from me on request, Volume 2 on Amazon, Volume 3 to be released on Amazon soon. Is not November marching into history, as we are now over halfway through? Christmas, for those who celebrate it, is now firmly on the horizon next month, as the winter solstice stealthily approaches to reach its fruition on the 21st of December. I'm already shivering and fear I'm suffering SAD, seasonal affective disorder, as the days are interminably shortening and the sun is keeping its hat on in our murky northern hemisphere, now de facto winter. Excuse me. Well, I now return on a new quest to review the 61 idioms, sayings, phrases and proverbs that feature in the narrative of Tale 8, The Cactus and the Tree. This is a beautifully entertaining story I told my son, and has a main aim, apart from entertainment, to impart knowledge about the Earth's changing surface as tectonic plates shift and move, and have been doing for a millennium. And even today we see such movements I have read about on the African continent. But there are other themes in this story I imparted subtly to my son concerning acceptance of one's lot, the importance of exercising patience, the unbidden kindness of strangers, and the inevitability of change in all our lives. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat again. And here is the business for today. Gorgeous idioms to whet your burgeoning appetite to my native tongue. Let's read them out. Beggars can't be choosers. A little rain must fall in all our lives. All things being equal, set in one's ways. Turn one's world upside down. Out of the blue, blind panic. To fathom something out. Drama queen. And to keep the lid on something which will actually go into part 2. So, the first notation in the tale, The Cactus and the Tree, is note 1. A lovely idiom I delight over. Beggars can't be choosers. We as always must set the contextual scene of the notation, so I pick up the book and read the introductory paragraph in the story. Excuse me. But in so doing, we pass all 12 notations we will deal with today, namely notation 2, a little rain must fall in our lives, notation 3, rain in the desert, which is a fact and can be bypassed, notation 4, offsets, again not a saying, rather a noun, so we will pass this by too. Notation 5, all things being equal. Notation 6, set in one's ways. Notation 7, turn one's world upside down. Notation 8, out of the blue. Notation 9, blind panic. Notation 10, to fathom something out. Notation 11, drama queen. And notational 12, to keep the lid on something. So to the book's narrative and the beginning of the story. I do love this story. Once upon a time, there was a rather bumptious cactus, aptly called Spike, who lived in the desert. Not the most pleasant of localities to call home sweet home, but alas, beggars can't be choosers. And although a little rain must fall in all our lives, sadly in the desert, precious little did for Spike. However, all was not doom and gloom. Life often has its offsets, and for him he was blessed with an incredibly good friend called Needles. The two have been there together, sitting in the desert for an age, and were, all things being equal, quite comfortable. Well, not just comfortable, rather set in their ways. But something was about to happen to turn their world upside down. One day Spike said out of the blue, in wanting of something better to say, "It's a bit dry around here, isn't it?" Yeah, it's not just dry," added Needles. "I've been feeling a little bit, how can I say, unsure about the ground." Spike glanced quizzically at his friend. "What do you mean?" "Well, don't you think it's trembling a bit?" "Trembling?" queried Spike. "Trembling? A ground can't Oh, I see what you're saying. You mean the sand is shifting in our desert." Needles sighed. No. I don't mean the sand's shifting. The sand shifts with the wind all the time. I know that. I feel the ground's trembling in an unusual way." After a short pause, he continued, "Besides, something else has happened." "What?" said his friend, standing only a yard away from him. "Old Scorpio's been around when you were sleeping, and I must say, quite in a blind panic. Do you know he shouted some absurdity, and how you didn't hear him I cannot fathom, as he was shouting almost in your ear hole. He strangely exclaimed, 'We're done for!' Spike, let me tell you, I previously always seen him as a bit of a drama queen, and knowing this, I often try to keep the lid on his, shall I say, excitements. So duly ignoring him and getting no reaction from me, he repeated more loudly, 'We're done for!' Excuse me. Well, what a beginning of this story that is. The first notation to review is note 1. Beggars can't be choosers, explained at the book's end to say that people who need something should be satisfied with what they get, even if it is not exactly what they wanted. And here are two more illustrations of this phrase, having roots in medieval times, reflecting a straightforward idea that those who are in need, like beggars, cannot afford to be picky about what they receive. This next side reviews note 2, a little rain must fall in all our lives. The book lists this at the back as a saying. Origin, American poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The phrase is contained within the third stanza of Longfellow's The Rainy Day. It means bad things will happen to everyone at some time or other. Slide 7 offers two more illustrations of this intuitive saying. Note 3, facts about rain in the desert, and note 4, a noun, offsets, we might credibly pass as they're not idioms. And the reader might consider these at the book's end. So note 4 refers to the phrase all things being equal, explained at the book's end as when talking about a possible situation. You mean if nothing unexpected happens, or if there are no other factors which affect the situation. As you see in the slide, can we make the purchase of the hotel? Well, all things being equal. Slide 9 gives further examples to clarify this. Perhaps some might see as rather an opaque saying. Note 6, to be set in one's ways is described as someone is unwilling to change one's habits, behaviours, opinions, etc. As you can see, the grandma. And slide 11 gives the reader additional examples of to be set in one's ways. So slide 12 explores the meaning of note 7, to turn one's world upside down, described in the book as one's entire outlook, circumstances or lifestyle is affected or altered by some event, usually negative. Excuse me. I chose although the explanation of to turn one's world upside down was couched in negative terms. But that slide, to give an opposite view of something, was changing in a positive the girl's head upside down smiling. This slide furnishes two more examples of the delightful phrase, to turn one's world upside down. Slide 14 offers an insight into a beautiful phrase, note 8, out of the blue, explained in the book as occurring without warning, unexpectedly. And slide 15 provides more examples of out of the blue, which I'm so enamored with, I wanted to understand more of its roots. The phrase out of the blue has origins that trace back to the late 19th century. It is believed to be derived from the imagery of a clear blue sky where something unexpectedly appears suddenly, much like a bolt from the blue. The expression gained popularity in the early 20th century, often used in literature and conversation to describe surprising or unforeseen events. The idea is that just as an object can fall unexpectedly from a clear sky, so too can unexpected news or events arise in our lives. The next notation in the book is note 9, to be or do something in a blind panic. Is explained at the book's end as an extremely strong and anxious feeling which makes you do things without thinking. And slide 17 offers other examples of this delightful phrase. And of course, with my penchant for history, I looked up the origins of blind panic. The phrase in a blind panic has origins that evoke the idea of acting without awareness or clear thought, similar to be completely overwhelmed by fear. The term blind in this context suggests a lack of vision or clarity, implying that a person isn't able to think rationally due to panic. The use of blind to describe a state of being without clear sight or judgment dates back to the early 19th century. The combination of inner blind panic likely gained popularity in colloquial speech around the mid-20th century, emphasizing the instinctive and often chaotic response people have in emergencies. Have you ever been in a blind panic? So to note 10 and to fathom something out, explained in the book in simplistic terms to discover the meaning of something. And slide 19 brings two more examples of the phrase to fathom something out, and I find it fascinating to explore its origins. Excuse me. The phrase to fathom something out originates from the term fathom, which has its roots in Old English and Middle English, referring to a unit of measurement for depth, particularly in water. A fathom specifically measures 6 feet and was often used by sailors to determine the depth of the sea. Over time, the term evolved to include the figurative sense of depth, allowing it to be used as a verb, meaning to understand or comprehend something fully. Thus, to fathom out implies reaching a deep understanding of a concept, situation, or problem, much like measuring the depth of water. We have in principle two more notations to review in the book storyline we read above. Note 11, Drama Queen, and Note 12, to keep the lid on something. As we are approaching the limits of slide numbers in each video, I have, in one sense, arbitrarily set myself. I will review Note 11, Drama Queen, as the last notation for today in part 1. Note 12, to keep the lid on something, will be the first piece of business in part 2. So, Note 11, Drama Queen, is superb, and I confess a little derogatory saying. Its meaning at the book's end is explained as an informal noun describing a person who habitually responds to situations in a melodramatic way. I'm sure you know people like that. Slide 21 is illustrative of this phrase, Drama Queen, with two more examples. Although not a saying as such, it has for me an interest worth to include in review. Well, that's it for now, folks. But were not the day's review delightfully in expressiveness of the richness of my language? Indeed, I do not wish to limit that comment to the English language, as all languages have treasures like my own native tongue. Before I depart until part 2 of reviewing the cactus and the tree, we can set out our stall. This latter interesting idiom was reviewed in the Sparky Shell and the Star, video 7. Set out our stall for the initial business in part 2. We reached in the book's introductory initial chapter of the story, Note 12, but failed to have capacity to review this note, to keep the lid on something. So that will initially feature in part 2's reviews, but also a saying arose in the verbal narrative, to whet one's appetite. We will deal with them initially before progressing on to Note 13, tapping on a bit, which I cannot deny I am tapping on a bit. Until part 2, keep warm. Jack Frost has come now, even to the sunnier climes of England, and if I could, I would banish him from my neck of the woods. The latter idiom reviewed in the Spiky Shell and the Star video 2. As you cannot fail to gather, I'm a person that yearns the warmth associated with the summer solstice. Goodbye for now.